Guide to Office Politics. By Karen Dillon. Section 1, Political Challenges with Your Boss. Chapter number 1. The Boss Who Holds You Back. Do you often feel that you are not being valued as per your work efforts in the office? Does your plain reaction on your good work make you disappointed? If it is so, give it another thought before you make up your mind about your boss. Or even before you think of switching your job, try to understand the nature of the relations in the organizational settings. Adopting a constructive approach will help you do your part well enough. What you can actually do is to treat him in the way you would like to be treated by him. You can do it best by knowing about him through other people working in the organization, or from those who have worked with him in past. In this way, you will be filling in the missing link by creating an opportunity to put it in the right direction. Your constructive attitude is quite likely to bring you the expected outcomes. Therefore, give it a try before you let your mind wander with the negative thoughts. Chapter number 2. The Boss Who Pits You Against Your Colleagues. What if your boss brings you against your colleagues by creating competitive conditions? What will be your possible response to such sort of challenges? You will either be pleasing your boss or offending your colleagues by taking it seriously to beat them. It may further result in personal rivalry. What are then the potential ways you can take to carry it on with a balanced approach? One of the best options is to talk to your colleagues openly about it. You can come to the common terms by making a pact that you people will play it hard but in a friendlier manner. Moreover, you can talk to your boss about the situation and the way it affects you. This way you can not only suggest him or her your personal views about the situation but will also create an opportunity to understand the boss's intentions concerned with it. In this way, you are more likely to get through the situation more flexibly, and without letting it end in some nasty rivalry or guilt. Chapter number 3. The Control Freak Boss. People experience differently in varying workplace conditions. You may find different type of bosses in different organizations. Some of the bosses may be quite friendly while others might treat you in different ways. Some bosses are control freak who make you feel oppressed and embarrassed every time you come across them. This may further lead to affect your work as well. Instead of submitting yourself passively, or quitting your organization, you can give a try to find out what causes him behave in a certain way. Learning about his nature will help you dealing with him. When you come to know what triggers his anger, you can also find out the possible way outs. Try and make sure if there is anything wrong with your work or if you cause him behave like that. You can come up with a productive way which can prove to be effective for both you and your boss. Chapter number 4. The Boss's Pet. Do you get jealous or irritated for your boss's behavior of favoritism with some of your colleagues? How do you take it if one of your colleagues gets exceptional attention from the boss in all respects? Well, at times bosses' pets deserve the way they are treated due to their passion excelling and working hard. In other words, they do share the same vision as that of their boss. If that is the case, then you must not have any problem with it. Instead, you should attempt to work better to get similar treatment. But if an average person gets such favors, then your concern for the situation are fine. Yet, the situation does not need to be taken as seriously as you might be ill-treated. Instead of complaining about the boss's favoritism, you can build positive relationship with your boss by knowing about him. This way you will not only be getting his attention towards you and your work, but will also spare yourself from letting your efforts affected. Chapter number 5. The Disaffected Boss. Does your boss' disaffected behavior make you disappointed? If you are going through that type of situation, seek the impulses behind his indifferent behavior before you fill your mind up with negativity. It could be possible that your boss was too immersed in the upcoming projects that he fails to acknowledge your work efforts or even your presence. Or it might be due to his lack of commitment in the work due to some other reason. In either of the cases, you need to speak up in order to understand what makes him or her get lost in his own thoughts. Moreover, try and consider if there's anything wrong on your part. If so, fill in for it to rest assured of your part. Furthermore, you can involve yourself in a positive work atmosphere by building good relationships with your colleagues. It will help you get rid of the thoughts affecting your work and leading you to negative mindset. Section 2, Political Challenges with Your Colleagues. Chapter number 6. The Hyper-Competitive Peer. Hyper-competition at workplace is caused for due reasons. The person becomes overly competitive either because he takes other colleagues as a threat or because he wants to make himself counted for the limited resources like promotions and raises. Instead of taking such behavior of any of your colleague for granted, and reacting to it in the similar way, it is suggested to tackle it with a positive approach. Identify the problem at its base. It is possible that the problem may exist only in your own mind, while you might be judging him or her to be over-competing. Even if he or she makes it publicly obvious that he or she is in that actually, keep control on your nerves in order to find out the ways which can better solve the issue, rather than letting it into destructive rivalry. If you find that the competition is based on threat caused by you, talk to him or her to resolve the issue by teaming up. In this way you can not only avoid falling in rivalry, but also build a positive atmosphere in the office condition. Chapter number 7. The Bully. How would you possibly deal with a bully colleague who keeps irritating you when you are up in a meeting? Like a playground, bullying has been quite a common issue even at workplace. The intention is basically to distract others and get control of the environment. As per statistics, around 1/3 of the Americans experience to be the victims of psychological harassment at workplace. The issue can affect one's work as well as health and lead to decline in performance. In order to spare yourself from such experiences, identify what makes them do so. Some bullies are compelled by their own nature and bother you without intending. You can create an opportunity for that person as well as yourself by getting into good terms with him. Furthermore, other safety measures can be taken in the form of having a powerful group of colleagues whom bullies would not afford to mess. Or you can just tell him that you get annoyed by his behavior and ask him to stop. Once you get to know the nature and intention behind it, you can go for any of the above choices depending on what suits your contexts. Chapter number 8. The Clique. Cliques have been quite common in the organizational contexts. These groups of workers tie together supporting each other in order to get to the top, while they do not let anyone else join them. According to Herminia Ibarra, a leadership expert, people sharing past institutes or jobs generally tend to fall in the activity of forming such groups. Failing to be a part of right clique costs missing professional as well as social opportunities. What you really need to do is to build a group or break into some good one. You can do that by showing your interest in the currently running projects. Once you prove your worth, it is likely that you get invited by clique to work with them. This will help you in numerous ways. Firstly, you will be sharing a lot of information by staying connected. Secondly, you will get straight feedback and support on what you do. You must create opportunities for surviving in the social as well as professional contexts. It is because good relationships do pay off when you need them the most. Chapter number 9. The Credit Stealer. Some people are too self-centered to credit their fellow colleagues for their due part in the projects. This way your credits are stolen by them who act like only they have been involved in the struggle. Most of the managements do not even bother to find out who worked how much, especially in the collaborative context. There are also some covert motives behind people getting into the activity intentionally. You must look for the gaps which caused your credit to be taken by someone else. If you have experienced it already, be careful not to repeat the mistake of letting others steal your credit. You should speak up with them in person, telling them everything straightforward. But if it does not work, you can go and talk to the boss, letting them know about your part in the work. In case it is your boss himself, you may take the credit from him by talking while making sure that you do not cause him or her feeling embarrassed. It is also important to understand the nature of organizations, as in some collaborations, it pays you off slowly. Chapter number 10. Managing a disgruntled former peer. Former peers' attitudes tend to change with your changing position. In this situation, you will have to balance the conditions by managing the things effectively while keeping the relationship maintained. Your peer may find your promotion to be a blow to him and take it seriously enough and to his self-esteem. He or she may resist your new position by showing no respect to you. You can maintain the relationship with a friendly approach after the office. It will also be a test for him to pass through realizing the changing conditions. Make sure, if there is a problem after all, then you do not need to be concerned about it if the two of you have a good understanding. In case you find your former peer suffering from your change of position, talk to him about it openly. Brian Ustsi, a networking and leadership expert, suggests that you should try to correct the course in a systematic manner. That is to say, you need to follow certain steps as redirection, reciprocity, and rationality. Once you acknowledge the issues and sit together, you will realize things getting as clearer as crystal. Section 3. Political challenges in your organization. Chapter number 11. Surviving the office outing. Organizations call for parties with intentions like raising morale and getting comfortable with each other, which may not be possible in the hectic work schedule. But it may prove to be a challenging task to get into the people with whom you have just acquainted. Deciding not to go for it will not be a right choice. Rather, try and make sure that you participate and put some effort to serve the purpose of the party. It is not made mandatory to attend the parties by the organization, but your absence will indicate your disinterest in fellow workers as well as in your organization. You should leave a good impression on the participants by connecting with them in a comfortable manner. Make sure you take moderate amount of drinks and food instead of taking too much of it. It is further suggested to own up if you happen to mess it up in whatever ways, otherwise stubborn approach would lead you to lose your reputation forever. Chapter number 12. Lasting through layoffs. Companies keep reorganizing themselves with the passage of time. Layoffs are a part of the organizational business in order to keep the effective workers and produce the wanted results. Here are some of the essentials that you need to follow in order to survive through such conditions. Instead of worrying, set a survival strategy and apply it with active approach. Stay calm and carry your work on in a better way, while stay mentally ready for the big decisions. Keep on visualizing the second plan, rather than merely depending on the job you do. Otherwise, big decisions may affect you severely. Prove your worth with what you do. Just staying in illusion assuming that they need you is not enough. Furthermore, involve yourself in communication at high level so as to demonstrate your presence as well as interest at work. Section 4. Build your skills. Chapter number 13. Managing conflict constructively. Conflicts, when taken in their broadest sense, are too natural to be avoided from taking place. This suggests that one should learn to deal with certain situations instead of avoiding them all the time. At times conflicts can prove to work in your favor provided you know how to manage them. Getting comfortable with it will help you find better possibilities which may not be brought through panicking or adding fuel to the fire. Try not to involve your emotions and get drained by them, as they will blur your sight of the better outcomes you can get. Furthermore, instead of taking it personally, make sure that you resolve it through identifying the core reasons causing it. Speak up about it opening with a constructive purpose, and do not develop your viewpoint without asking them for the explanation. Find out a middle way to end it in a positive note. There is no need to bring the boss in, until it is the only resort you are left with. Chapter number 14. Conducting difficult conversations. We tend to react to the situation with the same level of severity as we encounter them. If someone does wrong to us in whatever way, we are more likely to respond harshly, instead of tackling the issue with an honest and serious conversation. There is no doubt that it is difficult to control one's nerves in the mid of the fire, but to get out of it in the most effective way you will be required to bring it to the table. We actually consider difficult conversations to result in vain than looking for the positive outcomes it can lead to. In order to have a productive conversation, it is important that you get prepared with the facts, figures, and ideas you would put to prove your point. Moreover, time management and presentation of your message are of utmost importance in this respect. It is suggested to let the conversation be two-way and focus on resolving the problem rather than adding fuel to it. You are suggested to be neutral and responsible while conducting such conversations. Remember that constructive attitude leads you to the best possible outcomes. Chapter number 15. Working with people you just can't stand. Real life does not turn to be the exact reflection of your imaginations. At workplace, you are bound to work with the people you get to work with. But, before you start judging others on whatever basis, it is a condition for constructive approach to be self-reflective. We generally get bothered by people around us on the basis of our fixed perceptions about them. What is necessary here is that you attempt to understand the people in the perspective of their context. If you find someone exceeding the limits, it is suggested to deal with him or her directly before he forms a certain behavior consistent. Even if that does not work, then you can bring the boss in and get it settled without much delay. But you cannot do that all if you yourself are a part of the cycle, therefore it is necessary to identify and change the patterns within before you move on to others in this regard. Chapter number 16. Forging alliances. We leave a great impact on others' perceptions about us on the basis of our company. With respect to workplace, it is necessary that you develop professional relationships that lead you to better opportunities. To form better alliances, you will have to adopt a positive and constructive attitude, and connect with all without bias. It is also important that you express your loyalty and the sense of responsibility with the firm and your fellow workers. You must try and have alliance with the boss and other administrative figures to keep your stability ensured. It is a condition to be a good ally for better alliances. You cannot expect others being honest to you until you prove yourself sincere to them. At the same time, you are supposed to develop a sense for the effectiveness of those alliances. Cut off yourself from those whom you find to be damaging your image and efforts. What we learned. What was the core message that we got from this book? Every organization is different in terms of its agenda, politics and personalities. You can work your way up the ladder by following these rules. Building relationships with difficult people. Approach your boss in the most constructive way possible. Keep the conversation constructive and forward-looking. Build your own positive relationship with your boss instead of looking for ways to dethrone the pet. Transform yourself into an indispensable employee. Ask for more challenging assignments. Build your own network. Coping with office bullies and cliques. Create opportunities to socialize with the colleagues you're eager to know. The reward for your contributions may not be immediate applause but something more tangible. Collaborating with competitive peers. Reset your own expectations. Find a comfortable way to participate. View the outing as a personal growth exercise. Managing conflict constructively. Ideally, you'll need to build alliances based on supportive behavior, a perceived sense of shared values, and loyalty.